Welcome to today's Software AG webcast titled Adabas Manager Roadmap. My name is Will Carter and I'll be your webinar host. Today's webcast will be presented by Juergen Lind, Director of Product Management at Software AG. As we move through today's presentation, I invite you to submit any questions that you may have via the Q&A box, which is located in the lower right corner of your WebEx session. We will do our best to answer all of your questions. In the event that we are not able to answer your question, your submission will be recorded, and today's presenter will be back in touch with you as soon as possible. Additionally, today's presentation is being recorded. This recording will be available to you via YouTube should you wish to access it later on. To receive a copy of the YouTube link, please send an email to will.carter@softwareag.com. Before I turn today's presentation over to Juergen, I would like to briefly introduce you to Software AG. Software AG offers the first end-to-end digital business platform based on open standards with integration, process management, adaptive application development, real-time analytics, and IT portfolio management as core building blocks to help customers build their digital futures today. With over 45 years of customer-centric innovation, Software AG is ranked as a leader in many innovative and digital technology categories. Software AG has more than 4,300 employees and is active in 70 countries. It is now my pleasure to welcome Juergen Lind.
Thanks a lot, Will, for the kind intro. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining this session. As Will said, my name is Juergen Lind, and I'm talking to you today from Software AG headquarters residing in Darmstadt. It's about 40 kilometers to the south of Frankfurt in Germany. Yeah, I'm Director of Product Management, responsible for EntireX and also the Adabas Manager, which we will hear about right now. Mid of October, we have the release of the next version, numbered 8.2.4, and I'm shortly giving you an overview of that version. So I'd like to start today with the platforms Adabas Manager is supporting. We support Windows 64-bit platforms on Intel platforms, and we support the Adabas Manager 8.2.4 on Linux 64-bit, speaking SUSE 11 and 12, and also Red Hat 6 and 7. And for the Windows versions, it's Windows version 7, 8, and 10 in the professional versions, and the Windows Server is supported with 2008 and 2012 versions. Having said this, I'd like to point out that this is just the platforms the Adabas Manager application is installed on. Please remember that you are able to administer any Linux, Unix, Windows, Adabas database that is higher than or equal to version 6.4. So speaking with an Adabas Manager on Windows, for example, you can also administer Adabas databases that have been installed on the EntireX, HP, or Solaris platforms, for example. Yeah. Newest features sometimes may work with the newest combination from the ETS suite only. Speaking, some features will only work with 6.5 databases now, as we will see it in my presentation. So that's about the platforms. And let's go to the features for the version 8.2.4. We enhanced the Adabas Manager with DB file operations. Speaking, we now support the import-output oriented kind of utilities, as there are backup and restore, import and export, and also the load and unload is supported. This needs, for the time being, needs an Adabas 6.5. We also have so-called expert utility calls, which means that a number of selected utilities can be addressed from the Adabas Manager. We will see that in a little demo later. You can parameterize your call, and you can store a script or run the utility directly. We will see that in a short demonstration I'd like to give to you. This is just the overview of what we are talking about today. And I'd like to show you the feature with the example of doing an export and import. So we will soon see the Adabas Manager in action. I will export a DB file. I will import that same DB file. And because I'm doing this to the same database, I have to renumber it at the same time. I will do a short walk across the GUI wizards of the functionality, backup and restore, export and import, unload and load. And you will see that these GUI wizards will make it rather easy to do one of those activities, of those functions. And then we will still take a look at the so-called expert utility calls, so you get a better impression of what this is about. Before I start with the demo, I have to say that I recorded that demo last Friday, but you can't hear the voice, so the voice will be live now, but the demo is the recording from last Friday. And this, what you see now, is the demo environment as I had set it up on Friday. It's that the Adabas Manager and all other components all reside on one machine, except for the browser where I did the demonstration from. This has been my local laptop, but everything else, speaking the Adabas Manager, the Adabas Manager communication client, Adabas directory server, and also the server parts, as there are the Adabas administration services and Adabas and the databases themselves all reside on the AMA 05 machine, as I showed it on the right-hand side, and all the rest is, speaking all the rest, the browser has been on my local laptop. So that's the demonstration setup, so that you can know a bit of how it is done. And then I suggest that we now switch to the recorded demo. So the first thing we need to do is we need to log in to the Adabas Manager, entering the credentials, and then pressing the login button. And on the first screen it appears, we will go to the database administration of the Adabas Manager. And then I directly go to the databases list and pick a 6.5 database. It's the 102 general database that I pick now. And I want to go to the file list. And maybe I just shortly stop the demonstration here. What we can see is we have a file number 11 in there, which I will take for the export. And we don't have a file 5.0 or 5.1. That's the number I will import to later. And we will also see that we have a file number 9, for example, employees, which is the base file for a second one, file number 14, which is the lob file for that file number 9. That's important because I later shortly selected in one of the selection dialogues and then deselect it again. So just that you remember, we will export number 11 and import it to, I think it's 5.1. And I will shortly select in between file number 9, and then automatically we will see that number 14 is also selected. Okay, let's go on with the demo. This has just been a view to the file list, and I think we will now switch to the export function. We need to go to Adabas utilities. Here we see the job outputs for all the utilities that already have been run. We will go to the export now, and first thing I do is I select a file. I will now be presented with all the files. I select number 11, which shows up in the respective field. As you can see, I will select 9, and what you can see is that automatically file number 14 is also being selected. That's what I wanted to show here, because it's dependent on or both are dependent on each other. I just deselect them now because I only want to export number 11, which shows up here. I want to give the output file a reasonable name, which I'm doing right here. And then you see we have two kinds of buttons here, create script and execute export. And the execute export means I'm directly executing the export job. Creating script means I can save a script that would do the export, but I'm only saving a script. I say execute export now, clicking that button, and directly see the result of the job output. That's rather quick. And again, here I have two kinds of buttons. I can close and return to the export, or I can say exit and return to the job list, which I will do right now just for demonstration. Again, in the job list, and I see the export has just run, which was on Friday, actually, therefore it's the 23rd. Now I'm going to the import. I'm starting with the selection of the input file, which is residing on a database machine. I select it, so this is a remote file selection dialog as the one before. I'm going into that file, selecting my files, which obviously is only one in there, so I will select the only one in there, number 11. Again, it's shown in the respective field down there. I say OK, and it appears here. And as I said, number 11 is already contained in database 102, so I have to renumber it, saying I want to load it to 5.1, executing the import, exit, coming back to the job list. I see import has just been run, and then I'm checking the database 102 for the file lists, and we will see file number 51, employees not, is there a second time. Yeah, it's the same as the file number 11. So what we now see is, for some utilities, we have additional parameters, like here for the import functionality. So if there's the need for having additional parameterization, that's also in there. And the same applies to the unload and to the load. We have search buffer and value buffer here for the unload. And for the load functionality, we have two specialized parameters here. These are parameters that are not used so often, so we put them aside into additional parameters. And we will now have a quick look over the GUI wizards for those functions: backup, restore, export, import. We saw them in action, unload and load here. Now we are coming to the so-called expert utility call, where you can have free parameterization, so to speak, and also can pick via file chooser the environment variables. And we have a selected set, actually, of utilities. It's the backup and restore. And compression, we have the decompression also, file information report, we have the mass update, we have other opera, we have the other ort also for reordering, we have the database reports with other rep, and we have the file unloading. These are the utilities for the time being that can be used with the so-called expert utility call, where you can parameterize by yourself. And having said this, I'm done with the demo, with the live demo, and also I've come to the end with my presentation. And I'm now very happy, Will, to take questions.
Okay, great. Let's start with the first one. Adabas Manager is available for Windows and Linux Intel. How can I administer Adabas on other Unix platforms?
Yeah, excellent. Maybe I just switch back to the respective slide quickly so you can see that. This is the platforms. As I said, Windows and Linux are the platforms where the Adabas Manager is installed on, but you can administer any Adabas database that is higher or equal to version 6.4. Speaking, it's irrelevant whether Adabas is running on EntireX or HP or Solaris or whatever. It can be administered from the Adabas Manager that is installed on Windows and Linux, and we can quickly go to the architecture so you can better see that. Maybe I've got specialized slides here in my presentation for this question. As you can see, the setup can be much more let me say, much more complicated than my little demo environment where everything has been on one machine. Yeah, you can see the Adabas Manager can be on one machine. This can be seen here. Not sure if you see my mouse, but it's here. This is the Adabas Manager installation. This is the browser can be a different machine. Even the directory server can be on a very different machine to all the rest. And then we have the possibility to have machines with Adabas installations and the databases on them. And there can be multiple, of course, of them. So this can be tens, hundreds of machines. And this way, it means I install the Adabas Manager itself on a Linux Intel machine or on Windows. And the database machines can be HP, Solaris, or any other machine. Will?
Next question. Yep. Next question. Why can't I administer ADA 6.3.x with the Adabas Manager?
Okay. Implementing the Adabas Manager, this new Adabas Manager, we had to take two changes in Adabas itself, and those changes are available with Adabas 6.4 and higher. And these are specific to the Adabas Manager, and without those changes, the most of the functions for the Adabas Manager won't work, or won't be as robust as they are today. So this means Adabas Manager only works with Adabas 6.4 and higher.
Next question. Why can't we use DBA Workbench with ADA 6.4 and higher anymore?
Okay, this is a good question. Adabas DBA Workbench has been delivered with the 6.3 versions of Adabas the last time, and we can't deliver the DBA Workbench anymore. DBA Workbench from its implementation had been based on a third-party software actually, and that third-party software is no longer available in a supported way. Either in a supported way, or it's not available at all on some of the platforms by its vendor. And this means we can't rely on it anymore and had to build a completely new Adabas Manager. That's the reason why we can't use DBA Workbench with Adabas 6.4 or higher anymore.
Okay. The next question. Are there plans to support Adabas on z/OS from Adabas Manager?
There are currently, with this Adabas Manager, no concrete plans right now. So concrete plans means we don't have a schedule. What is being done currently is we and I think this is the development teams and also Wolfgang Weiss, the product manager of Adabas, and myself, we are discussing the Adabas strategy, and we have in mind that we need to do something with the Adabas mainframe, but there's no concrete strategy yet. This is being worked out currently.
Next question. Does expert utility mode allow for chaining of utility execution? For example, unload to decompress, etc.
This is a good question. I'd say, I didn't try it, but I'd say no, because the expert utility call will just either directly execute this utility or generate a script for it. But what you, of course, can do, the script that is generated on the remote machine, I mean on the machine Adabas is running on. Remember that the Adabas Manager in most cases is running remotely to the database. So the scripts are generated on the database machine, and what you can do, of course, is you can change the scripts. Using the Adabas Manager to parameterize, and later on mixing the script and editing it and using it directly, but not from the Adabas Manager then, of course.
Okay. The next question we have, without DBA Workbench, is AMA able to be used to manage the Adabas DB delivered with Natural One Community Edition?
Natural One Community Edition. I'm currently unsure about which version does what actually, but we currently have a Adabas Community Edition, which already is delivered or being about to be delivered with October, that is shipping together with the Adabas Manager we are just talking about. So the Adabas Community Edition in future will have Adabas Manager in there. I'm currently not sure if it already does or if it does, that comes out now, because that's out of my scope, unfortunately. I'm not sure about the Natural Community Edition. So if there are questions on that, you can send me an email. Yeah, my email is Juergen.Lind, and Juergen is written with UE. It's a German umlaut, but written UE, rgen.lind@softwareag.com. So please just send me an email with that question, and I'm going to inquire for the answer.
Okay. Let me just see. Another question just came in. Can you provide any demonstration of the monitoring functions? I can. I hope I can. Let me just try. Are there any other questions? Because this would take a bit of time. Will, maybe we can go to other questions that are not really. That's the last question. It just came in. So if you can do it now, that's great. Or if you want to directly coordinate with the questioner, we can provide that option as well. Entirely up to you.
Yeah. I don't know if it's possible, but I will try it right now. So this is now live, yeah. And let's just try it. If the question comes up, that's okay. I'm not sure if the machine is running. That's the reason why I'm not sure about. And that's also the reason why I recorded the session, just to be able to show something in any case. Let's go to the machine. So this is now live. I'm not doing the demo on the dashboard often, but let's try it. This is about the database health. So I first have to create a so-called monitoring group. Let's name it Demo 1 maybe. And as a description also Demo 1, which is very stupid but simple. And I have to select the database I want to monitor. Let's take two that are running for this group. Let's take a different one, maybe 102. Okay, so I have two databases in this monitoring group, and I can also select the criteria. I want to take every criteria that's in there, every criterion that's in there. You see that there is the database status, which means, of course, if it's offline or running, and there's always an interval for recurrent evaluation of monitoring criterion. And I can say 1 minute, and database uptime is checked. At 1 minute is maybe too low. Let's take 10 minutes. We don't have to wait for that, just for demonstration here. There with the ASO space and data space and also the buffer pool hit rate, there are so-called levels. It's a warning level when things turn to yellow, and an alarm level when things turn to red. And again, here I have the interval for the recurrent monitoring. This is because it puts load on Adabas, of course. Yeah, having evaluations all the time will influence your production and may slow down your performance of the production database. So you can have small intervals depending on how expensive it is to compute the KPI, but also on how important the KPI is for you. So maybe you don't want to have this for KPIs that are not so important to you, or where you can have larger intervals to not put burden on the Adabas machine or the Adabas itself. Okay, let's do it like that. Now we can save that. So this means we have a monitoring group called Demo1 now, and now we can go to the monitoring group selection. I'm selecting this, and I say OK, and then I'm starting, or let me explain first. I can do a single evaluation, or I can do recurrent evaluation. I will now start a single evaluation. Everything is checked, and as both databases are running, the overall status is green. So that's what I can see here. And if I want to have more details, I just see here there are 2 databases and I have 5 monitoring criteria in there. I can go into the Demo1 and I see, okay, there are 2 databases in and both of them are running, which is no surprise because if one of them wouldn't run, then the overall status wouldn't have been green actually. And if I want to see more details, I can even show more details. So the database is up. I see the uptime of the databases, which is here for database number 10, it's over 1 week, and the 102 is running since 3 days. I think I shut it down on Friday and put it up again. That's the reason here. And of course, there's not much traffic here on our demo machine, so the spaces and buffer pool hit rates are okay. Let's go to the group configuration a second time and create another group. So I name it Demo number 2, which is not more sensible, but also short. And let's select the production database, which is unfortunately down. Yeah, it's a case that is not so good. And let's select in parallel one that is up. So choose those 2 and also select the criterion. I just put in 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes again, and I say OK. Save that monitoring group and go to the monitoring group selection. Monitoring group selection means which of them do I want to monitor. I want to monitor all of them. I start again a single evaluation, which means the data KPIs from all databases are required, and I see demo group number 1 is OK, which may be, for example, our production, and I see demo group number 2 is not OK, which may be, for example, a test environment or development environment. So you can build your groups for monitoring, and you can directly see if there is a sensible naming, if it's good or bad for your situation. Let's go into that. Let's imagine this is now bad with the demo 2. You see the bad one is on top, so you can directly see it and select it, and we see now, okay, the database production is not running. Let's check why. We go to the monitoring details, and we see the buffer pool hit rate has been bad, it's not running. That's it, what we see now. If one of the other KPIs would have been bad, for example, ASO space, then of course there would be an uptime, and there would also be a buffer pool hit rate then, because the buffer pool hit rate can only be computed if the database is running. But ASO space, for example, would have been yellow or reddish, or the data space would have been yellow or reddish. That's the way how the monitoring works. Let's go back to the monitoring group selection. Again, where is it? To go to, okay, I showed you the single selection, but I now want to go to the recurrent evaluation to show that there's also the possibility to recurrently evaluate. Of course, you can also do that with 2 of them and start the recurrent evaluation. And that means, as we said, 10 minutes for the interval of all the KPIs. Then every 10 minutes will this display be updated, actually. There are also hints, because maybe that's not so clear what we mean about that. If you leave this page or if you create a report, recurrent evaluation is paused, and you can resume it whenever you go back to this. So if this screen is running, you will get recurrent evaluation. That's it, Will?
Okay, we have another one that came in, and I think you'll want to address it very quickly. The question is, a number of the monitoring functions are getting errors within our 8.2.3 install. Should we wait for this new release to resolve, or are there hot fixes for the current version?
Which one is it, 8.2 point?
8.2.3.
Okay, I do not know from the back of my head if there has been errors fixed in that area. I don't know that. So if there have been issues that have been, if there have been support issues, then we probably know and have fixed that. I'm not aware of that currently. Actually, I'm sorry. So if you didn't address this via support issues, I kindly ask you to do so, and we will probably fix that in the 8.2.4 version.
Okay. Excellent. Okay, Juergen, again, to everybody on the line, if anybody does have additional questions, Juergen did offer his email. That email address, again, is juergen.lind@softwareag.com. Juergen, great presentation today. Thank you. I would like to invite everybody to additionally look at our forward webcast schedules. Juergen will be back on October 10th with the EntireX roadmap. And additionally, on October 11th, we will have our natural roadmap webcast. And finally, on October 18th, we will have our Applinix roadmap. So if you have not yet registered for those, I invite you to please visit us at softwareag.com/US. You can find these webinars on our resources page, which is the right side of the page, and just do the drop down to the webinars by date. And please just briefly and quickly register. We'd like to welcome you back for those. That is it for today's presentation. So again, thank you for everybody for being here. And Juergen, thank you again for your time. Have a good day.
Thanks a lot to everyone. Bye-bye.